Welcome to Creating the Muse podcast, brought to you by Into Pages. This is a space where creativity takes center stage and entrepreneurship becomes an art form. Join us as we dive into the stories of visionary individuals who have harnessed their inner muse to build thriving businesses and craft lives of passion and purpose. Welcome to another episode of Creating the Muse. I'm your host, Indiana Holly, and today's guest is someone I have admired for a very long time, not only for her talent in the kitchen, but for the emotional depth, compassion, and purpose she brings to everything she touches. Elena Duggan is a celebrated Australian cook, educator, and creative leader. She's best known for the way she brings together nourishment and storytelling, using food as a pathway to connect, heal, and empower. But Alina's story goes far beyond food. She is a passionate advocate for women's health and tireless supporter of young people and vulnerable communities. Through her work, Elena has led programs on mindfulness, sustainability, and healthy eating, educating others on the power of food as medicine. Without further ado, please welcome to the podcast, Elena Duggan.
Hello. Nice to be here.
Oh, so excited to have you. I'm so happy that we could make this happen. And I just wanted to say how honored I am to have you here today. Like, this is such a
Thank
thrill.
you. Well,
And
I've long admired all of the different women that you've brought together in so many different ways, so it felt like an easy yes.
I love that so much. And I think we were having a conversation earlier, about a week or so ago, about how we actually met. How did we come into each other's orbits? And just ever since the moment that I've connected with you, you've been so supportive of absolutely everything that I do, from creating the muse through to my little business venture, Wild Time. So I just wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all your love and support.
Absolutely. Well, I love women and I love women's stories and I love women in business and they inspire me just as yeah, it's all mutual and it's we're all stronger together. It doesn't have to be so competitive as some people maybe like to pit people against each other, but there's room for all of us to thrive.
I couldn't agree more. And I think since I made that shift within myself as well, like really supportive of myself and um, being without the self-doubt and starting to really fall in love with who I am, I'm starting to attract women who actually walk that talk and they do the same thing as what you said, like you're fully into it, into the sisterhood, if to lift each other up and celebrate each other. So it's just clearly when I'm talking to women like you, I feel like I've done enough work on myself that I'm attracting the right women now. So
But I also think it's like we can I embrace the cheesiness of it all. If I admire something about someone, whether it's small or large or something that they has stuck with me, it's very easy to pay that compliment forward because they may not know that about themselves or they may not know the
no.
impact or they may not know that something they've said has been lingering with you for days, weeks
Oh,
to
so
come.
true.
So I think that's there's
Call it
many,
out.
many not so great things about all of the social media things, but you have direct access to be able to tell people that you admire something about them, which I think is pretty cool. I like that. I'm a fan
Yeah.
of dropping in compliments.
And it goes a long way, doesn't it? Like you're in the lift with somebody and they turn around and go, "Oh my God, you look beautiful." Like they don't even know you. I love your shoes. You're like, "Oh."
Yeah, yeah. It's a really easy thing to do. We are so sort of, I guess, trained to keep all of that and disconnect, but it's again about connecting and it's
Yeah.
I think the older I get, the less afraid I am to be open with that outpouring, I guess.
Yes, yeah, and it's definitely about your energy being open to attract the right kind of energy. Yeah. So I guess for those that have I'm not aware of your creative journey and your backstory, do you want to fill us the listeners in a little about
Where would you
where
like to
you've been?
start?
Oh my God, there's so much to start from. I mean, you've worn so many hats: educator, artist, advocate, mother, intuitive cook. Um, but I guess, okay, here's a good question. I guess behind all the labels, who do you feel you are at your core?
Um, I think the hat that I wear loudest and proudest, and it might be this particular season, but it's mum. I just adore being a mum, and to my kids, that seems to be um, intertwined with my values, I feel like. And it's an easy way to decide whether something's a yes or a no for me, or the direction that it wants to go in. But that's sort of first and foremost, and then everything sort of comes around that. But being a mum, I'm a creative mum. I'm sometimes a fun mum. I'm like, there's all of those other bits that nothing is disconnected. It's all interwoven. Teaching skills helped me to be good at MasterChef, and MasterChef and teaching skills helped me to be a good mum. Um, yeah, it's everything. It sort of helps one another. It all, but that's definitely the loudest
Of
when
who
you
you
say
are at your
which one.
core.
Yeah, that's definitely. And I think I had always thought and wanted to be a mum at various stages. Didn't know whether that would happen, both through my health. Everyone tells you that you're never, it's going to be really hard to get pregnant. Um, and but then I became a mum a bit later than a lot of other people, and I met my partner later, and that's it was a bit unexpected. I'd sort of surrendered to the process of, okay, am I going to be being a single parent foster mum? I've got a lot of love to give. Where is this? Where can I direct this?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, and it just happened to turn out that he knew exactly what he was looking for, and we found each other. So, even though it was later than I'd expected, and I'd surrendered to another direction, um, yeah, I couldn't be more grateful to be in this chapter.
There's such a nurturer at the core of everything you do. I know that we've had that conversation. Doesn't matter where you are, who you're working with, or it is such a nurturing energy that you have. And I even last night when I saw the post of, is it Foster's fourth birthday?
Fraser's
Fraser,
birthday.
sorry, Fraser's first birthday, and that cake that you made. You can
Yeah.
see how much of you was in that, how much joy and love, and
Yeah.
how much you wanted him to feel so
It's
nurtured and
he
seen
placed
by.
some tall orders for that party. There was very specific details of what I needed to include. Some very simple sausage sizzle, easy. I can organize a
Easy
sausage
peasy.
sizzle.
Yeah, yeah.
But then the cake kept on changing. Even his invitation had like, I don't know, 50 different characters around a border because he just couldn't stick with one theme. It was ever changing. So I'm like, can we go with a color theme then,
And
mate?
he's only four.
His boy, yeah, yeah. He had very specific, very he knows what he wants, which is
That's
lovely. And
good.
I love that he's
God.
it's funny some of the things that you think and they can be challenging as a kid, and you're sort of like, oh, these qualities are going to be so amazing as a teenager and as an adult. I have to try not to squash the inconvenience of some of them now. How do I nourish this and guide it
Oh my
and let
God.
you be exactly as you are because it's brilliant? Um,
Yeah.
so we embrace all of the complexities and all of the layers. So yeah, it was multi-layered cake, and it had to, yeah, he wanted a Neapolitan flavored cake,
Yum.
like Neapolitan ice cream. So originally it was going to be different layers. And then in terms of everything that was going on that week, I said, how about a marble cake? Do you remember, like we did one for Jonathan one year before? So it had marbled flavors of vanilla, strawberry, and chocolate, and then different layers of jams and creams, and then it was bright yellow, of course. But the
Oh.
most hilarious thing, these little blue diamond sprinkles, these like glass like sprinkles, he said when I cut it, I want a piece like that. And then every other kid at the party said, I want a piece like that. I was like, oh, that's just the middle bit. I really should have covered the whole thing. So even though I was trying to please him, yeah, I think we still managed to, not much of the cake came home.
Oh my God, that's a good sign. And I mean, it looked like such a masterpiece. And I have to ask, how many hours did that take you? Like,
The cake itself is not too bad, and I do, especially with being a working mum and whatever else, I do it in stages. I always bake a
oh,
cake and
clever.
cut the layers, prepare the layers, and then freeze each layer because it's going to be easier to ice and it's going to have the longevity. So I can actually do that step a week ahead if I need to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I did the crumb coat the night before, so I was probably up, but I was doing bits and pieces. I would sort of do one thing, set it, and then come back to it. And yeah, so two nights, but only like, yeah, it was a few hours. But you'll see that it's not. I'm not a decorator by any means. I love all things creative, but I do
It's a
not have the patience for cake
four-year-old's.
decorating.
Yeah.
So I'm
It was
like,
perfect for
yeah,
a
originally he was
4-year-old.
going to have
Yeah.
a little dragon on top of it, and then at the last minute he changed
Oh.
his mind. So I'm like, oh, it looks a little bit simple without that, but that's okay. Yeah, it hit the spot. He was happy.
Oh, it just looked extraordinary. And there's something that you talked about when you were talking about phrases like feeding that creative aspect about who he is
Yeah,
and how that was really important to you to be able to have that expression
yeah,
and see that come to life, the
yeah,
visuality. So, and I guess, and I've had this conversation with any other creatives as well, which I love bringing it up. It's like, we're now in a generation of people that are feeding the creativity. It's not just about science and math, and it's
yeah,
now about the creativity and how important that is. So, can
yeah.
we delve into that a little bit? Because do you do that for are both your boys creatives? Do you know at
They're
this
both
stage or?
creative. They're both creative problem solvers as well, which I also really
Wow,
like. So,
good strengths.
we definitely, my husband's in construction, so there's always something to build and investigate and engineer, so to speak. Yeah, so I'm all for like whether it's they might get given a toy that is a rather simple toy or something, and I was like, well, let's build an obstacle course. Let's guide it through this thing, or let's how can we like if something's been used 100 times, what else can we do with this that we haven't thought of? So it's not just about creating in terms of making. I want them to look at what they already have and how it can be used differently,
Wow.
what it can be, how can we have fun with it, because they
Yeah,
learn
yeah.
so much through
Oh,
play.
definitely. Yeah.
And yeah, what's another way that we could look at the exact same thing that we've played with 10 days in a row? How could it be different? What could it
That
be?
is
So it is,
incredible.
and every day is different, and that's actually on a lot of days where I get my creative nourishment as well. If I'm not getting to draw or paint or photograph or cook or write, sometimes it will be the outpouring and collaboration with them, whether it's, okay, what are we going to draw today? And we put, I'm going to put like Mr. Squiggle style. I might start you off and then you have to add to it and then I add to it. Or it might be about construction and building things. And oh, you've built it like this. I wonder if we could put this on top of it in terms of the structural integrity. So I'm really trying to get them to think about, like you mentioned earlier, STEM has been English, math, science, they've all been targeted for a long time. But it's all connected for me anyway. So
Agree.
yeah,
100%.
but it can't exist without it being purpose driven. And I think that's a lot of, I'm not going to be making something beautiful for the sake of making it beautiful. I really, if I can make it serve another purpose as well, which might be what drew me to food in a lot of ways.
Yeah, yeah.
I really, even now, feel very guilty if I'm just creating for the sake of creating sometimes.
Wow, really?
Yeah, if I'm just creating and like I have all a bunch of different paintings started, and I find it very hard to just sit
To
and be with
be a
that. Yeah.
completionist.
And
Yeah.
yet I
You don't
know,
see the logic and yeah,
yeah.
I get
And yet
that.
I know that it's giving me more than simply the act of creating. And I know how good I feel after it, but it is still a hurdle that I have to overcome often is to allow myself this time, which has might have previously been, yeah, guilty. I felt guilty about because it always gives me more than simply the act of.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so it is
I love
curious.
that. And it's interesting. I was having a conversation with somebody about being a completionist, and somebody asking me if I was a completionist. And it's funny that you say that because I will have, if I don't see the value of the outcome of the thing that I'm doing, therefore I don't feel the guilt of having to complete things to the end. Whereas I hear what you're saying is you're having that logic up front to,
A little bit. And if, for instance, if I'm collaborating with someone or if I've like, I will do my darndest to meet a deadline. But if it's a self-imposed deadline for something,
arbitrary, just for, yeah,
yeah, then
yeah,
I find that a lot harder to commit to. And also that would be often the first
forced.
thing that falls off the top of the priority list because I'd be going, I've got all these other things to do before that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
okay. I will get to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
love that.
sometimes I
Yeah.
do after years, and sometimes I can get something finished. Sometimes I create something purposely to give to someone because I know I'll finish it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you say that because even some books I'll be gravitated to wanting to buy it,
Yeah,
but it's not that time to read it yet. And then a
yeah.
few years later, it's time to devour
Yeah,
that
I've
literature.
found that as well. I'm like, I have
Yeah.
something in my head. Am I going to do this? Can I do it in the next week? Can I do it in the next month?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's pop that down and we'll come back to that because you want to be able to give it, whether it's your
Everything.
attention or whatever it is. Yeah.
I agree. And speaking of that art side of you, you were a trained visual artist, and you did
Yeah.
touch on it, utilizing that skill in MasterChef and
Yeah.
being able to visualize the plates at night before. So, do you still
Yes, I did
see
that a lot.
your food that way now? So,
I don't as often have dreams about it, but I'm not surprised. Like we were living and breathing and
engrossed in it.
food,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely immersed in the process. So I'm not surprised it took over my unconscious thoughts as well. But I would wake up with a dish in mind, whether it was an ingredient focused or color focused or flavors or cuisine or whatever it was, and I would just draw it in a little notepad next to me. Um, that would be the fastest way for me to remember. If I just wrote a handful of words, they often might not connect the same way as a
Visual.
drawing
So
will.
you're very visual by the sounds of things. Like
I
you.
think so. And it doesn't have to be like a quality drawing. It might be very simple geometric shapes or something like that that vision allows me to put all of the, I don't need to know every ingredient that's going to go into one element if I've drawn an element. Um, yeah, the I those it happened a few times. It was very funny. Like I drew one thing and it was very visual, and it was the week that Heston Blumenthal was with us. And I ran into Mimi in the bathroom in the middle of the night because there was 24 of us that shared a house. And I think she was coming out or I was going in, whichever way. And I was like, I just had the most amazing dream, blah, 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 and just like verbal diarrheaed her to this idea. And she looks at me as if she's like, okay, go to bed. I'm like, oh yeah, sorry, you didn't really need to know all of that. But
You
hilarious.
were excited,
I
right?
was
You're like,
so
oh my
excited.
God, it's
And then
dropped in.
hilariously, the next day, she and I were paired together for a challenge. And I looked at her and I was like, Mimi, can I cook the dish I was telling you about in the middle of the night? She's like, I don't remember what it was, but like, yeah, go.
Oh,
If it's gonna float your
when
boat, you
you've
go
got that
for it.
much passion, how
That
could
was
you say
hilarious.
no?
I think she was just, please be quiet, just do your thing. No, she was
Oh,
very
yeah,
supportive,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. It
it
sounds
was
like
a little
you're a
intense
good
as well.
pair that she could let it go and go, yep, go for it, girl. I know when I'm onto a good thing.
That's very funny. But I often would draw something before I'd create it, even in like a shorter challenge or whatever it was, just have a little reminder there. Because again, I wouldn't need to note out all of the steps as soon as I've got like that element, and I would be able to, I don't know, have the steps in my head or something. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. And
Um,
you've shown examples on them on your social media as well, haven't you? Like where you've
yeah, occasionally it
or
might
was
be
it on your website?
ingredient.
It was one of the two where you had visual pictures that you had
Yeah,
colored in and
yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
sent home a lot of postcards. I taught a lot of photography and digital media and majored in photo media at uni and my first degree. So
Ah,
I had a lot of cameras ranging from like my old pa's camera from 1939,
oh,
like a leather bellows camera, to
and you
like
still got it?
digital ones. Yeah, I've still got all of them, but I wasn't allowed to take any into MasterChef, so I had to think of another way to document it, which became my
Brilliant.
postcard. And so I would watercolor and or ink ingredient postcards because you also had to maintain confidentiality. So I wasn't able to write down exactly what I'd done that day, who I'd seen, or anything else like that. But I just kept a record via an ingredient each day. Some I might do 10 a day and send them all out. So there's quite a few. I think
How
I know everyone's
many?
got them, but do you know what? There
Y-
might be some that are
Yeah, I'd be
occasionally like I would
collecting
make
those
some.
all back and putting them into a
Yeah.
cookbook, mate.
So like they're very, very simple. Like I
Yeah,
would do
yeah.
it now. It was more about the process and getting it done some days. But then other times I would make them for my roommates to be able to send to their loved ones or whatever it was, because other people enjoy the process. And my room became a bit of an art therapy room. A lot of people would come in and draw and
Oh, I
paint.
love that. It's so centered around art and therefore the nurturing aspect being brought up again because I know in a conversation we had about the warm and fuzzy cards that you did. So can we talk through that and
This was the
what
mega cheese factor coming out like
so
earlier.
great. I love it.
It was something that I learned being an SRC coordinator in high schools, and we would go on an SRC camp in terms of building their resilience, their leadership skills, and getting them set for the year ahead to be able to lead the school and collaborate together meaningfully. And over the course of that camp, we would write each other the most amazing messages of some interaction that we'd had, or what it meant to us, or something that you'd observed in others. And by the end of the camp, you would have all of these amazing messages to take home and remind you of who you are when you might be struggling to see it yourself. And before I was going into the house, I was like, how am I going to? I hate goodbyes. I really hate goodbyes. And so, how am I going to deal with these people that I'm connecting with? I've only just met them at the auditions and I already
Yeah.
know their life stories. I like
Oh,
want to know.
so human centric. I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
that.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm like, how am I going to deal with? So it came from a very selfish
FOMO. Like
coping mechanism. But on the very first night,
you're managing your own nervous system, but showing other people how
yeah,
to, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, your
So I gave
compassion.
everyone an envelope and set up like little station of drawing and note making and whatever else, and put all their names on there, and like just said like, there's no obligation to participate in this, but this is what I'm going to be doing, and I want to make sure that whenever people leave, they're not leaving with things unsaid or not knowing how we felt
Yeah.
about them. And it was, yeah, some people left early that and we had assistant producers who lived with us, like a house AP. And so I think they started actually really appreciating the process, because then they would say, everyone who's up for elimination the following day, now's your time to write to them so that they've got, if you
Yeah,
haven't
that's
already written something
beautiful.
to them. So I think it became more and more meaningful as it went on. Some people I don't think participated at all, like a handful of people, and then other people participated a lot. But I think over the 6 months after the show, almost all of the ones that did participate got back to me and said like how meaningful it was to be able to have that reflection of the in the moment things that meant something to people that we ourselves might forget, or it might be so in passing or something like that, but how it impacted those other people, or how it got them through a tough day, or how it spurred them on, or how they realized, yeah, it's a competition, but actually these friendships are for life. All of that sort of stuff. Like it's,
Oh, and
yeah,
it would have been for life too, wouldn't it be? Because I know when I've similar, like you said, you referred to it as kind of like an immersion, right? Food every
totally.
on TV and cookbooks, and you're around other incredible foodies, and so you fully in that moment. And then I guess that's where the warm and fuzzies are really important because it's kind of like taking a photo without taking a photo. You're
That
in
was
that
another one of my
snapshot.
methods. Yeah. How do I,
Yeah.
there's so little that was in within our control in the space. How do I record this? How do I remember it from my perspective as opposed to a camera's perspective that's out of our control? Because I often saw the photos back that the on-set photographer would take. I'm like, I do not remember those
Wow.
things, or
Yeah.
the perspective is entirely different.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how do I protect my experience of it? And yeah, definitely some of the Woman Fuzzies did that. Some of the postcards did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, how do you capture that? And I kept a diary of every day, some like practical stuff in there for like continuity, for instance, like what did I wear this day? I only like I kept some things really simple because I just did not want to think about it. My hair was either up or down. There was no, like I love to braid, like basketball tournaments, etc. In
Yeah.
high
Yeah.
school, I would be doing everyone's
Just slap
braid,
it on, get it
but it's
done.
either up or it's down. I've either got this lipstick or this lipstick. I've either got this or this, studs or hoops. Like I kept it so simple. Um, I'm sure the stylists hated me for it, how simple I kept
The
it.
images of you
But
are
it really
beautiful.
was about
Yeah.
me having to focus on the things that
Yeah, it's
mattered.
about the food. That's what you're
Yeah, yeah,
there for. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. And you talked about I want to talk about from the nervous system point of view. It was really interesting how you said um when you're there and you're in it. and you can't specifically remember certain things, or people have different perspectives, from somebody who is very really good at disassociating, like really good at showing up, doing the thing, and then walk away, and everyone's like, "That was amazing," and you're like, "I don't remember a single thing, but thank
Yeah.
you." Is
Yeah.
that what you kind of meant, like in that moment, that it was
Um,
you're just in that action mode, doing and
the
getting
only
stuff
thing I can
done?
really relate it to when the judges would come to my bench and they'd be like, "Oh, did you know such and such is doing this or such?" And I'm like, "No, I wouldn't have a clue what's going on around me because I'm focused on what I'm
Freaked out.
doing."
Yeah.
Like, it didn't. I was like,
You don't have the
how would I
luxury
know
to
that? I'm not going up
swoon,
there and
swoon
checking.
around the benches,
Yeah,
and
I'm like, I'm
yeah,
totally
just trying to get
focused
shit
on
done.
what I'm
Yeah.
creating. And so there might have been some drama going on that I had no idea about, or
Yeah, but
someone
you're
might have
hyper
been using
focused.
similar ingredients to me, or someone, I don't know. Um, yeah, so I really I could only let in a certain amount of stimuli, and I guess that
Yeah,
was for me, that was that bench, and I'd
protective.
put a little bit of a bubble around that when I was in that space. And yeah, I just couldn't engage with anything else. I'm like, for me to get this, it probably comes from the first, Marco Pierre White was with us for the first week, and I had made the most delicious chicken crackling as a part of my dish.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
it
hmm.
was the I was so excited about it, like stupidly excited. Like just
But how do
everything else.
you have to tell me
And
how you do
um,
that? Like I got the
so
pork one done, but the chicken crackling, you're gonna have to share your secret.
so I had put it aside, and so I had all my elements ready or whatever, and the countdown began, and I just left it off the plate by complete accident at the countdown, and I was so annoyed at myself. And like the dish was okay, but that just made it extra good. It was a very, I wouldn't say lucky day because like I was still happy with the food that was on the plate, but in terms of it wasn't a make or break element. It was that part was the lucky part. There must have been other people who had not done as well that day, probably left more off the plate than me because we're all freaking out with Marco Pierre White. But I managed to overboil milk, like you know, milk boils
Yes,
over.
yeah,
And he
yeah.
was there, and he just called out. And he's like, "Elena," and just pointed, and I was like, "Oh, got that done." And then I left the chicken crackle off, and I was like, "Okay, what is within my control to not let this happen again?
Yeah,
I need to
interesting.
stay focused for a start, not buy into the energy around me.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
need to be finished 5 minutes early." So I made sure I was finished 5 minutes early every time.
Incredible.
Um,
How did you center yourself though? Like, is you like just visualize having a protective boundary around? Or it's just being hyper focused and organized and setting that intention that you were going to slow down, focus.
I knew that after, like, I think we spoke about that I had a repetitive kind of a mantra that I would say to myself and I would pace before we would go into the kitchen because often like between the green room and entering the kitchen for a challenge, you would be in the garden.
Yeah, yeah.
And everybody's nervous and everybody's going, "What's going to be? What's going to be?" And I'm like, we have no control over what it's going to be. So why are you worried about it?
Yeah.
I can't buy into that energy and I can't be around you.
Yes.
And the only way that I could do that was sort of, okay, I'm going to look over here at the garden here, pretend to look at the garden, whatever it is. Sometimes I might be touching and smelling to focus other senses and quieten the noise or the energy or whatever it was. And other times I'd just be sort of walking around and saying this in my head. I added words to that based on judges' repetitive feedback that they like I knew that I had to. They kept on getting cranky at me for saying, I think it's good, or I think this, or I think that. And he's like, don't you know? You know this is good, right? And I'm like, oh, that feels a little too confident or bold. Like I don't know, like I'm still
Oof.
learning. And
Yeah.
so I had to say it to myself before I was ready that like this is like be confident, just be confident. And I'm
Yeah,
like, I
yeah.
don't feel it, but I have to tell myself that in order to feel it or get to a place where, yeah. And I'm like, I do like my food.
It's a
Yeah, I do
trust
think it's
thing, isn't
good.
it?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I added parts to the mantra the further I got in the competition based on what I needed to work on myself. And I think that often gave me I went in there only focused on that, not worried about too much noise. Um, I also often would, because I'm quite tall on the benches, I often noticed the taller people were having sort of slight back issues when you get so focused and your
Yeah.
body tenses
Oh,
up, you can't
yeah,
do the rest
definitely.
of it. So I would do like 10 squats on the spot, like really like
Well
blood
done.
pumping
Yeah.
squats to sort of like
Shift
release
the
whatever
energy
it
and
is
yeah,
and
yeah.
also get the blood going to my brain again if I hadn't like breathed deeply in a while. So there was a handful of things that like allowed me to refocus if I felt a little bit frazzled. And in terms of when you were talking about, did I like visualize a bubble around me? Not consciously, but if I think about any of my cooks, even now as a memory, it feels like everything else is blurry in front of me, behind me. So I must have really just like I don't even remember looking up at the judges too much when they were like off talking, just when they were near me. So I must have had some, and that might just be the way my memory has protected me of it as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
Who
yeah,
knows?
yeah.
Um,
Definitely.
but also, a lot of people, when they ask me how stressful it was, I think everyone imagines those high-pitched guitar solos playing constantly while we're cooking, and it's silent in there. Like if they're filming the show, that's in the edit. So I don't have that stress to contend with
That's thank God.
because I'm like, that,
Sensory
yeah,
overload.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
actually was more stressful to watch back than to be there. Some of the times I was like, oh, this has made it way, way more stressful than it was on the day.
Oh my
Yeah, so
gosh.
in terms
Yeah.
of clever editing and audio tracks and all of the rest of it, you really can build suspense where I thought that there maybe was none or a small amount.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it was much quieter than that. Yeah, so it didn't. That was easier to. The volume
That's
was just clanging
incredible.
kitchen things
Yeah, definitely.
because everyone else had to be silent.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a big part that I could just visualize you being in your room each night and everyone coming in and doing this like art session, like art therapy session with you. But you
Oh, it
did
was unofficial. We weren't like
kind of
talking through anything.
no,
It really
no,
was
you
just
just
being
tried an
insane. Yeah,
outlet
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
thing to really look after yourself, but also to look after everybody else, to take them
Yeah.
along. But I guess what I wanted to touch on also was your I'm not sure if others are aware, and I know it's been on your website, but actually about your own health and
Oh, yeah.
managing both your creativity, your emotionality, and also the pain that you were experiencing at the same time as well, because you said you had chronic illness and
Yeah. So
yeah,
I was
so
diagnosed gluten intolerant at like 16, and then I was diagnosed polycystic at about 21, and then I was diagnosed insulin resistant. So with each of those big educational moments for me, I adjusted my food or adjusted my way of eating or preparing, not hugely all the time, but trying to make sure that I was giving my body what helped it thrive and trying to reduce anything that didn't serve me. Um, and that changed with more knowledge and more education. And by no means is food in itself an only medicine. Like, I don't want to be telling anyone that anything in particular is going to be all encompassing healing.
mm,
But there's definitely foods that help reduce my inflammation or help reduce my tiredness when it comes to it helps reduce my other symptoms. So it was actually only before I went into MasterChef, I wanted to make sure that um, I had a full physical because I was like, we may not be able to get to any kind of specialist
yeah,
for a
during
while.
that
And
period.
I had fairly regular updates to make sure of where things were because you'd never wanted to assist to rupture or something if,
Mm,
yeah, like let's just do a big physical. And so I was right to go in as healthy as I could be, sort of thing. I'd been eating predominantly sugar-free, grain-free, and dairy-free in the lead up to it, and had reduced my meat intake, but not necessarily on purpose. I just didn't really feel like it too much. And so I'd put myself in the best possible space, knowing that, okay, if something comes up that I have to test and it's gluten, how am I going to recover the fastest or live a high
Yeah.
downtime or whatever it was? Um, and so I had made it, I guess, a personal mission to, wherever possible, just cook how I cooked in terms of like most of the dishes were gluten free that I presented. Over 60 dishes that I created were gluten free. I didn't necessarily advertise that because I didn't think it should be, I don't know, maybe as a marketing post with what I now know, it might have been actually to my advantage and to the benefit of other people had I made it more public. I just did it
Mm.
as how I cook.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
wanted to
yeah.
make sure that the judges knew that gluten-free food doesn't necessarily have to be boring or
No,
cardboard-like or
definitely.
like, and it was also important for me to be able to show them how easy it was to make food inclusive because I had gone to a lot of restaurants and you hear either the wait staff or the chef or someone go, ugh. Or you hear other like people going to a dinner party and going, I'm so sorry, I don't eat. And you're like, why should you be apologizing
I
for existing?
know.
Like it really bothered me.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like I was on a bit of a like personal private mission, I guess, to make sure that the food that I was cooking was accessible, it was delicious, and it was reasonably nourishing. Um, body and soul sort of thing. And during the course of the time, I guess I had when I look at the photos of me at the beginning versus the end, I reckon my hair is about half as thick and very broken. I couldn't wait to have like a haircut. They really tried for us to not have too many haircuts during it because they don't want you to change too much
yeah,
because
yeah. Oh,
the
interesting.
filming schedule versus the airing schedule.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, as soon as they gave me the go ahead to get a haircut, I chopped a lot of it off to try and feel fresher and tidier. And it was
yeah,
so that was an external manifestation of what was going on inside, I guess, but definitely one of the earlier things that I could see. Um, and I tried to make sure like that I had a decent sleep, a decent exercise routine. I tried to make sure that I had some solo time, which is very difficult in a house of so many people with, and then when you're on set, so many more people and so many cameras, etc. So how are they best going to be able to nourish myself, etc. And then by the time I got out, so I guess it would have been about 8.5 months, 9 months. So from having a full like bill of health, happy, yep, go for this thing. And a grapefruit-sized endometrioma had grown in
Oof.
my right ovary, and
Still don't understand how where that fits in the body, hey? Like everything just
yeah,
gets shoved to the side to,
yeah.
yeah.
And I knew that, like, my weight didn't change too much during the show. Other people's weight fluctuated quite a lot. You're out of your comfort zone, and it's not necessarily going up or going down. Everyone's bodies were changing because of all this newness that we were dealing with. And it wasn't necessarily, people might assume like you're eating more. Not necessarily. It was eating differently, trying different things, trying
Hmm.
to master different things when you're doing different recipes, and you're away from your own exercise routine. If you have one, some people introduced one for the first time because we
Oh,
had some really
I
amazing
love that to
fit
manage.
people who did like yoga and Pilates and all of these other amazing stretches. I know that Carmen, who was one of my roommates, she taught me heaps in the gym that I hadn't done before, different ways to strengthen different parts of my body or stretch different parts of my body. So it, yeah, there was no hard and fast rule why our bodies were changing, other than it was so different to our normal
Yeah, yeah,
day.
out of routine, like you
Yeah,
said.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it was about 6 months after that that I had my surgery, and mostly women listeners, so I guess it's not too much information, but like the endometriosis was so bad, almost all of my organs were fused together. So
Oh,
in terms of having it removed, I can only describe it to the next few days. It felt like everything was just moving around freely in my body. Anytime I walked, I was like,
oh, you
so
felt
it
kind of
was
like, yeah,
all
the
of my organs were like
spaciousness.
free again. was so weird, like jostling around unsupported. I'm like, is this how it's supposed to feel? Because it obviously hadn't in such a long time.
Yeah,
Everything had just
yeah.
been like this. Yeah, so it was, I was terrified of having it, the surgery, but was so glad that I did. And it was the first time in my adult life that I didn't buy painkillers or have Panadol
Wow.
or
Yeah.
even stronger in my purse on me at any time, because previous to that, if I had a flare or a pain or a migraine or whatever it would be, to get through whatever I was doing, I would have to have pain relief.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah.
to get me through my
And that
workday or to
becomes
get me
the
through
new
social
normal,
occasion. That's
doesn't
the new
it?
normal.
Yeah.
And it kind of happened without me realizing, because we had friends come over and they're like, "Oh, do you have any Panadol?" And I could not find any in the house. And I'm thinking, when have I never had any pain relief in the house? And it was so baffling to me, the difference. I would say now, after my two kids, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of it back, and definitely the symptoms of everything has changed significantly. So I once again have pain relief available to me. But it's yeah, I guess as many mums will also go, okay, so now I have to find time to have surgery potentially, or what do we do next?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, at the
Because you
time,
don't know what you don't know, right? So,
no, no.
yeah.
But thankfully, I guess with all of those diagnoses comes reassurance that you're not imagining it, that it is very
Yes.
real, that it is very relatable,
So
that there's a reason
important.
for all of these sorts of things. So there's all sorts of reassurances and I guess self-forgivenesses when you sort of are like,
Push
oh,
through and
okay,
ignore it.
I thought it was
Sweep it under
hard.
the carpet.
Yeah, I thought it was hard and I just thought it was just me.
Oh,
But
mate.
so
Yeah, so many women go through it, hey, and the
yeah,
frustration of sometimes not getting any answers. It doesn't matter who you go and see, doctors and everything.
yeah,
And yeah, it gets to the point where either, like you said, just becomes the new ordinary,
yeah,
like not
yeah,
normal. So you
yeah.
just, yeah,
Even being admitted to hospital several times previous to that, the what the medical professionals did and didn't know, and how that's improving, and the language and the conversations that they have with you. There was several doctors who were like, "Oh, you've got polycystic. Oh, we won't investigate any further then." Like,
but
I'm
but
like,
why is there
well, this
not
is
like, and this
I
is what
deal
you
with like
do?
yeah, I deal with
Yeah,
this every other day. I'm here because this is different and this is way worse. So,
yeah,
and they're like, oh,
yeah.
probably one's just bursting or whatever. I was like,
Oh, that's why it's so painful.
okay, cool. What can we do about that?
But why?
Or
Where do
like,
we start? How
yeah,
do I heal? What do I
yeah,
do differently so that this just doesn't occur? So,
yeah.
yeah. And
Um, yeah, so I feel like having the surgery at the time that I did, and then also returning to almost, because it was almost impossible to be sugar-free, gluten-free, grain-free, dairy-free
just eat
from MasterChef.
ice. Here's some
Yeah, it
ice.
was almost impossible. Gluten-free I was able to stick to until I had to return as the, like, when I bring my own mystery box in,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
half of the new contestants made pasta, and I was like, oh no.
No.
The other half who had like paid attention, they're like, we know you're gluten free, so and I was like, oh wow.
Oh, that's so
So it actually
nice.
sunk in for some people in the way
Yeah.
they were presenting food to. So I felt just as touched by that as like people making what they know how to make. But yeah, the week after judging when I had to return was not comfortable, because I wanted to pay everyone the respect of trying their stuff, just knowing that it was going to be an issue the next few days. Yeah,
That's incredible. And I want to touch on, because you talk a lot about inclusivity, especially around food. So
yeah.
we'll come back to that. But I wanted to ask you about your food journey and where you're at now. So did you find that shifting to eating ice? No, I was kidding. Um, basically gluten-free, grain-free, which is a really hard one because people think, oh, you can, and rice in itself
Yeah,
is worse
yeah,
than wheat
yeah.
for some people.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking how much of the symptoms cleared up once you listened to your body and figured out what was causing inflammation in your body and what wasn't. So, where are you landing with now? Or is it all forever evolving and changing?
I think it is forever evolving and changing. I would say that pregnancy is also an interesting one to throw in the mix, and how much research I've done about what that significant change in hormones can do for you and your health beyond that.
Mm, mm.
So, and at different times of our lives, like I've developed a overactive histamine issue,
Wow.
but we
So
don't
what,
quite
no
know whether
wine, no
it's for
chocolate?
sure. Well, not necessarily that, but there's definitely still an unknown source that I'm having an issue with, but I can I think it's still just about moderation, whatever it is. I've never been a huge drinker anyway. I'd prefer to cook
Yeah,
with
yeah.
wine than to drink it most of the time.
Nice. I love
If
that.
anything, I love a good cocktail. Like that's,
Yeah.
but it's still pretty
There's
rare.
one in a blue moon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, it's still ever evolving and ever changing. Like I even going grain free, like I love rice and I love rice noodles.
Mm.
And in terms of being gluten free, some of those things are just so, I just really appreciate having them, the experience of them in my diet.
Yeah, yeah.
I also really love like the Korean sweet potato noodles and like there's lots of other options as well. But my kids love all kinds of rice dishes. So I definitely have introduced that more into my back into my diet than previous. My husband is a huge potato eater. I've never eaten more potatoes in the last 5 years than I have previous to that. Like there's a handful of starches, especially that I've brought in
Is he
that
Irish?
overall aren't having such a horrible impact.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, Croatian. So
Um,
pork and potatoes, and yeah, there's a
it's
lot.
just a staple. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, so it's certainly not ever it's not ever still. It's just sort of never plateaus. It always is changing. Um, I Yeah, it's very curious. And like I ate very similarly with first pregnancy to second pregnancy, but they were such different pregnancies, and my body had all the risk factors of everything for the second pregnancy. So hormones play such a huge role. So I
Oh,
imagine,
wow. Yeah.
based on my previous diagnoses, that as I approach and move into perimenopause at some point, that it isn't going to be an ever evolving, like, how do we best
Yeah.
know
Never
it?
navigate it.
How
And
do
you are
we,
you like me where you have a threshold? Like you'll eat, so I'll have some sourdough bread and I'll be like, yay, I can eat it. But then I go so far the other way.
yeah. Usually I will allow that for the like if I'm going to a restaurant that I really admire or something. Like when I went
Yeah.
to Fire Door, like I've been such a fan of Lennox Hasty for such a long time, and he has the most amazing sourdough there that's
Mm,
from like a starter that's like,
what,
and
25 years or
yeah,
something,
and it's
handed down through
like the
generations.
crust without anything on it
Oh,
tastes like Vegemite.
oh,
Like it was just the most incredible bread. And I'm
yum.
like, this
I
is
would eat
worth
that.
the pain. And also for my experience to be able to, yeah, like, yeah. So there's some
Yeah.
things that I miss more than others. Like I loved
Yeah.
crumpets as a kid. They just don't, they're not quite the same gluten free. And some things that to me are not worth replay. If it's not the thing, I'm not trying to make it a replica of it unless it is like nourishing or better. I don't, that's not necessarily my style of gluten free. There's so much good stuff that I'm not necessarily missing the handful of things that I can't have.
Yeah, yeah. I'm similar to you, like especially with my brother having so many food intolerances and having to it makes you forces you to be super creative, doesn't it? Especially when you
Absolutely.
got littlies with all these food
Yeah.
intolerances,
Yeah.
with amines and salicylates being an issue. So you try and I remember people saying to me, "Oh, don't you feel sorry for your brother that he can't eat all this chemical shitstorm stuff like colors and preservatives?" Yes, I feel really sorry for my brother that gets homemade gourmet food every
Yeah.
night.
Yeah. It's really rough.
It's so rough.
Or even my 6-year-old came home this week. He's like, I think I just want Vegemite sandwiches for this week. And I like looked at him and I was like, really? And I was like, something's happened here because previously it was like, can I please have like Singapore noodles, rainbow veggies,
Oh,
in my
yum.
furnace? And I was like, okay, so now you just want Vegemite sandwiches? Do you know what Vegemite tastes like? Because I don't, we've not had it in the house. So
So you
it
had one of
is.
his mates' lunches, do you think?
That I would say that it was like everyone's got Vegemite sandwiches here, and I don't have that. So let's not alert anybody to this.
Yes,
I would like
yes.
to
He's
blend
got his
here.
gourmet goodies
Yes.
instead. Yeah.
But it is, yeah, it's there's so much exciting stuff to have. I don't know why the focus has to be on what you can't have.
Yeah. Oh,
It's sort of
100%.
similar to like being handed a mystery box versus an open pantry. The open pantry is incredibly overwhelming. As soon as you have limitations, far out. Can you imagine? Like you can
Oh,
do,
you have to think outside the box. That's
yeah,
that
yeah,
problem
yeah.
solving you were talking about. Yeah.
Totally, totally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it is completely unfair and atrocious that people have to miss out
Hmm.
because they can't have A, B, or C. And I understand in some styles of restaurant in terms of how much prep they do ahead of time,
Yeah. Yeah.
that if you are going to go to one of those restaurants, maybe let them know an adequate
Ahead
amount
of time
ahead
so they can,
so
yeah.
that they can make sure that you have as good of an experience. So I understand
Yeah.
that you can't just turn up on the spot to some of them, and that is the nature of the way that it runs.
Yeah. And that's totally
Yeah, so I
understandable.
get that.
Yeah.
And then in terms of some of the anaphylactic type allergies, yeah, some of them you're just not going to risk going to
No,
a variety
there
of.
is no threshold.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there's got to be things for everybody. Like we're a nut-free school, and it hasn't stopped anyone else having a good time there. There's ways
Yeah.
around lots
Most
of
schools
different
are now,
things.
aren't they? Gluten-free,
Exactly.
nut-free. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Now, inclusivity, you speak about it all the time. You want everyone to feel inclusive, especially around food. So let's talk about a Kitchen Odyssey, your Friday. It's a Friday cooking program. Is it every
yeah.
Friday?
Every Friday. We've shimmied it a little this term because I think they and me and all of us together had made it so wonderful that it was perhaps overwhelming to us all a little bit. So we're taking it back a few notches and we're basing this term. Oh, so I'll tell you the history
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
come back to. So it was sort of came from the idea around Harmony Day and wanting to produce a feast that celebrated different cultures that were within our school community, both staff and students. And we got back the most incredible list of everyone's origins, some that were more obvious than others, and some that we were like, oh, we had no idea, or even some students may not have known if they weren't as connected with their family as others.
Mm,
So that I was like, well, there's no way that we're going to be able to put a feast together from 40 different places or like even more than that now. But for one day, like someone's going to miss out, and that's not cool. Like, we want to make sure that everyone feels included. That's the whole sort of point. So, how do we make this not just one day, which is I know the importance of having one day to celebrate all of these different things, but it really should be how we're living every day kind of
I
thing.
agree. I
Yeah, so
agree. We're robbing
um,
ourselves of so much culture
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. So,
yeah.
whilst I appreciate it as sort of that marker in the calendar as a very specific and explicit reminder, it really is. It needs to be living our values every day. Anyway, so I was like, okay, how can we do this? This is too interesting to not dive into. So the following Friday, and I ran it past the assistant principals. They quite liked the idea. Obviously, we have a bit of a budget, and so we would choose one of each of those different cuisines, and then we would have to make sure that there's vegetarian options. It was all nut free. There were gluten free options. There were non pork options in terms of like we might have chicken or beef. So we were not only catering to cultural requirements and dietary requirements, we're also interested in preferences because we want people to not have to apologize that they don't like something.
Yeah,
Um,
fair. Yeah.
so that would end up, we would try to capture all of that within 5 dishes from within a culture. So obviously, they're not going to be perfectly traditional, but we want to capture the essence of those, and we want to be able to use that as a vehicle for storytelling or as a vehicle
Mm,
for conversation or as a vehicle for
I love that.
discussing history or place or purpose or belonging,
Yeah.
etc. So whilst some cuisines were, I guess, easier to do that with than others because they're naturally a lot of those things. Others were a bit more of a challenge, but definitely not impossible by any stretch. Like it was, that became a part of the joy of it. And it also became a part of the conversation. Someone might say, oh, this would usually have this in it. I was like, I know, but then we wouldn't be able to share it with everyone. And they're like, oh yeah, and it's not so bad without it or whatever.
I
Everyone
love
adjusted and
that.
adapted very easily
Yeah, yeah.
when they knew the purpose behind it.
Making everyone feel included.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there was still the options because it's presented a little bit like uh not quite a buffet because we're still going to serve, make sure that everyone gets a fair amount and almost everyone will come back for seconds, but everyone has to be served first once. You still have options with what you want. You don't have to take everything. And what we're finding is that kids are getting way more experimental than they probably
Oh,
realized they were. They are empowered to make their own choices. There's no pressure, there's no expectation. If they try it and then come back and say, "Can I have a cheese toastie instead?" No dramas. Like
yeah,
just
yeah.
there was and so what we've found with the first two, it was a little bit exciting, and then we see like the attendance improving. We see people wanting to be in the kitchen more and more on a Friday so that they could contribute. We see people not getting frustrated that they don't get to cook. They might only be prepping vegetables that day. They might be picking herbs that day. They might be preparing a dough that day. So no one was going to be able to see through an entire recipe. It really was about the team effort in terms of every recipe had all these various stages, and you might only get to contribute to one part of a
Mm.
recipe. But at the service, would be like, these people worked on this recipe. These students worked on this recipe. Did you see that this person was able to contribute to every one of those recipes today? And that wasn't only exciting for them. We're able to then tell their parents, or they then told their parents. So it's been such a fun thing. We did over 40 different cuisines.
40
Um,
nationalities.
and then
That's incredible.
there were a whole heap of requests that had to be brought back for this year. So we did the 40 individual, like unique ones last year.
Oh,
And we did a whole heap of like best hits, I guess you could call
is
them.
there anything you can't cook?
Well, I mean, a lot of that I haven't cooked before, so I would rely
Wow.
on
Yeah, their
recipes
knowledge.
theory,
Yeah, yeah.
and then I might get the students to come and taste it, and they're like, okay, tell me what this needs. I don't have this, and we can't use this. How else can we get there together? In for some students, I might not have been able to get a traditional ingredient, and so I would have to do the next best thing. And then I would say, look,
Improvise.
I
Yeah.
know that this is not quite right. How could we make it closer? Or we had one student who really, really wanted to encourage the diners, our staff and students, to use their hands to eat the dishes, which would be how they would do it at their home. And I said, I wanted to adjust their expectations because I didn't want them to feel disappointed because we have so many students who have
Mm.
sensory issues that might
Yes.
put them off eating lunch entirely.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure that the student was prepared for a polite decline for some of our students. And then, just as we're having this conversation, one of our most delightful Year 12 students walks in and they ask, they're like, we're supposed to eat this with our hands, right? Do you think that you could show me how? And we both had this moment of like, I just
Oh,
told you it wasn't going to happen, or it might not happen.
oh,
And look, this is the best. So then they had this
oh,
conversation and this beautiful
that's
cultural exchange and
incredible.
this one-on-one lesson. And then that was obviously witnessed by other people. And so other people are getting engaged and they're wanting to know more and why and how.
Yeah. And make them
And
feel so included in the whole
absolutely.
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was a bit cranky at myself for almost adjusting his expectations before it could happen and just not standing back and seeing it happen. So it was a bit of a lesson in myself as well to sort of leave more
Let it
space,
flow. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, for the magic because it almost always
Your
happens.
heart must have been so lit up in that moment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And
yeah.
it was yeah, I think it was good for everybody.
It's
Yeah, so we did that.
such an incredible thing that you do every Friday. I can't believe over 40 nationalities. You've got students there affected by trauma and autism, and you've talked about seeing trends in the past about meth exposure as well, and
Yeah,
lockdown
every year, every
regression,
cohort's
and
different. Yep.
yeah, every cohort. Yeah, that's right. You said
Yep.
that. So I guess it's taught you a lot about creating safety, not just inclusivity through food, but also creating safety through food as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
There's a lot of students on their way to independent living, so what we're learning one on one, even if it is on those Friday feasts, how can we make this more budget friendly? how could you do this with fewer ingredients or fewer pieces of equipment? What would you do differently? Okay, well, you
Yeah.
take this out and then you could use that as a base and top it up 5 different ways during the week so you don't get bored. Like there's so many lessons for whoever needs it. And yeah, I think that's why I don't get bored either because it's new
No,
every day. And
no, I
sometimes you have
can't
to adapt
see.
minute by minute.
No, and I think we've discussed before in the past how I love the way that you use food as a vehicle for
Yeah,
making people want to feel healed or inclusive or just be seen, like and you bring your art in as well, like making it, that's that nurturing. That's why I asked you at the beginning, what is the core of who you are? And you can
yeah,
see why that everything you do is centered around that real nurturing and making everyone feel seen and just heard and needed in that moment. So so I love that that's how you're using this as a vehicle. It's
yeah, yeah.
incredible. Yeah.
And there's always space for learning there because I don't always get it right. But
No,
that's
no,
also,
especially when you're learning new
yeah, yeah,
cuisines and
yeah.
everything like
So
that.
that's
Yeah. But that's how
I,
you learn, right? From your
exactly, and I
mistakes.
like that I get to be in a space of learning as well. We're learning side by side. It's not me being an expert in anything. I'm just sort of a bit of a facilitator and a guide in those moments because we're really
Yeah.
are like building this thing together.
Yeah.
And something might happen halfway through and we have to adjust even like that. We were making empanadas on Friday and we didn't get enough help early on in the day. So I didn't think we were going to have enough for a single serve at the start of lunchtime. So I like alerted the assistant principal and the students who were working with me at the time. They're like, we can do it. Like, you shouldn't have called him. We've got this. And I was like, I
You
love that
love.
they all of a
Yeah.
sudden were like, no, we'll figure out a way. We'll make it
Yeah.
happen.
It
We'll work
always
faster.
is.
We'll work
Yeah.
harder.
Everything's figure outable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't like to put that pressure on them, but if they're
No.
leading it, I'm all
Go for
for
gold.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah,
That's
I
that
learn.
empowerment piece, isn't it? Allowing people to step into leadership as well. So, yeah. Oh my God. I have got this massive list of everything we wanted to talk
And
to you.
I am a rambler. I apologize.
No, I love this. This has been an incredible conversation. I've definitely, it's gone above and beyond what I could have really expected. I really appreciate this. And I guess what we'll do is we'll wrap up with we did have a set of rapid fire questions, but I will just ask you that because you are,
Because I'll probably not make them
but
so
thank you for the book list.
yes, take that
Very
because
impressive. I'm keeping it. Um, but I guess why we're here because you are the upcoming issue of Creating the Muse, which is out this Sunday on the 3rd of August, which is very exciting. And the theme has been created around the essence of who you are, which is food, alchemy, love. So, and listening to this conversation, you can clearly see why that was the theme. So I guess what we're here today, and the question, reflective question, the closing question is, what does creating the muse mean to Elena?
um I came back and forth on this so many times, and I think it really is leading with curiosity and being open to
Oof.
finding inspiration
Yes.
in anything and everything. If
Yes.
you're going into whatever experience, no matter how overwhelming, intimidating, scary, fearful, nervous you are, if you say to yourself, you're going to learn something that day, or there is opportunity to learn here if we're open to it, then some of that other stuff is a little less noisy, a little less bright, and you can sort of go, I'm going to be able to take something away from today, good, bad, or ugly, whether it's how I want to proceed, whether it's how something I want to leave behind me, whatever it
Mm,
might be. I find inspiration in learning, and I
mm.
feel like that's sort of creating your own muse, being your own muse, finding muse in everything. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Exploring. That's a curiosity piece, isn't it? It's like
Yeah,
putting
yeah,
yourself in there to be curious and
yes,
then to see how it unfolds or how it comes about or what you learn that's new. And
yeah.
it's the curiosity is what I'm
Leading
hearing
with,
is the
yeah,
muse.
yeah,
Yeah.
leading with openness and curiosity.
Yeah. Oh,
It's definitely helped me both feel more myself and freer to not be so fearful with interactions or like making sure that I learn something from everybody or every experience that I have. It's gotten me through hard stuff, it's gotten me through easy stuff.
Mm.
It's yeah, but there's inspiration everywhere if you allow it.
If you allow, I love that. Yes, that's so great. Oh my God. You literally, when I asked you a question in the beginning, tell me about your journey. You've lived a big old life, I tell you what. And you're so multifaceted on so many levels. But I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity. You inspire me to no end. I love your heart. I love your warmth. I love your ability to be curious in the a moment. I love the you're just so emotionally intelligent and the way you articulate things from everything from how you interact with people, how you were in MasterChef, how you engage with your children. I think we've just discussed how you've, with family life and we've talked about reparenting and all, like we could go on for so
Yeah.
long, but I just
I'm
want to
sure
say,
that my curiosity isn't
oh,
always everybody's cup of tea because I ask a lot of questions.
but
So
isn't that
I'm so
great?
glad that you can see some
I
joy.
love it, especially me being
I
an
imagine being
introvert.
a child, I'm like, my mum must have needed just a rest at the end of the day. Like, and I see with my 6-year-old sometimes, even on the school holidays, we had one day and I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna need you to answer the question when my husband got home for 15 minutes because it's a lot of questions and I'm having like a bit of an existential crisis because I've had to answer so many big questions. But I imagine that's like I want to
Yeah,
know thing. I want to know why. I want to know
I
how. I
love
want
it.
to know your story. I want to, yeah. So I'm
So
glad
see you
that
in the car.
this glimpse,
Yeah.
that curiosity is a good
You're
thing.
like, I see you as a little girl in the car going, Mummy, why is the why is the moon following us?
Yes, why this? Why that? And I think they were quite big world questions as
Yes,
well. And there's
yes.
always that fear of like, is this going to be age appropriate? And so like now I like say give a small answer and then wait. Is that enough? Do they want more? Let's see. Because I
It's
don't want
so
to overwhelm them
good.
either.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
introverts would really appreciate that and not just talking about the weather and football. Like, oh
Oh no, let's
God,
get deep
we
real
need to
quick.
get in there.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I put a bit of vulnerability out there just to see. I'm like, if you guys,
Yes.
if you don't react the right way to this, we
If
may
you
not
get a
be those
wall or
people.
yeah,
But
good
like,
on
let's
you.
dive in. I don't have time for that other stuff. It's time's
Yeah,
precious. Let's get into the good
it's
stuff.
so true. Elena, where can people find you? Where's the best place that people can come and explore your
Uh,
curiosity, your cooking?
I'm probably most active on Instagram, I would say, Elena underscore Joe underscore Duggan. I am on TikTok a little bit, but that's really just I had a play for a little while. I've just started a Substack because I've found I'd needed an outlet for my writing, not necessarily anything visual. And hopefully, and I'll be able to put some recipes there and things and some other documents that I've created for other families in my workspace that might be like helpful for especially inclusive eating or if you recently have a
Incredible.
diagnosis, what can we
Oh,
swap out
I
some
love
things
that. Can
for?
you do a blog on that for
So,
me? That'd be great.
yeah, well, I think I might have to do one on each of the different ingredients
Mm.
so that people can see. But yeah, I thought that that might be useful for some people.
Nothing like
Um,
lived experience, hey, to be able to share that with others and tell them, what's going on so nobody feels alone. So,
yes, and certainly my advice is anecdotal, not expert, and I encourage everyone to try and
no,
find
it's what's
what
worked
works
for
for
you.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
just be kind to yourself where you're at and figure out what the first few steps are because it's yeah, ever evolving.
Amazing. Well, thank you again. Cannot wait for
Absolutely.
your issue to come out on Sunday.
I hope everyone enjoys it.
It's perfect. Absolutely amazing. Thank you, Alina.
Bye.
Bye.